What's up? What's up? What's up, Milwaukee? What's up, Look, what's up, single folk, married folk, wannabes? All of y'all, get on in here. It ain't a game. You know exactly what time it is. It's time for single talk. Oh my God, that's like my favorite time I want to say of the year, but bi-weekly, it's just my favorite time of the week. On a Tuesday. And as you guys are coming in, I know your girl look different. She changes up. You know, let me live my best life. Today I wanted to be twisty. Get on in here. And listen, yes, Mamie. Mamie, are you ready? Listen, y'all, we're supposed to start at 8 o'clock. My bad. I'm trying to gear up for the holidays. Oh my God. So I'm not mad. I got my yellow tutu, but I got my army fatigue. Listen, y'all, I'm straight off the street. Yes. And I'm going on, listen, I'm going away. I'm going away to see my family. And then y'all, I'm going on a cruise. So I was trying to get something that'll be easy, you know what I mean, for that. So it's fresh, which means it's extra tight, but it's all good. All right. So listen, we ain't gonna hold up. We're going to get right to it. So as you guys are coming in, hi Aisha. Oh my God, y'all know I'm obsessed with Dr. Aisha. If y'all don't know who she is, go to my very first Single Talk. She was my very first guest on Single Talk ever, and she's absolutely amazing. Definitely just click her name, get connected to her on social media. She is definitely who you want to plug into, you know, for your relationship needs, singleness needs, and so much more. So thank you, Dr. Aisha, for joining. Laverne, Mamie, everyone there, I see you all there. Oh my God, this is so exciting. So today we're going to be talking about single for the holidays. And just in case this is your first time, as I'm waiting for to see Arnitta's head pop up there, if this is your very first time joining, again, come on in, like, share, send up some hearts, let me know you're there, let me know you're feeling me. This is just a platform that I created for not just for singles, because anyone can join, but this is a platform I created to help dispel the myth and the stigma that is connected to being single. Being single is not a bad word. It's not. It's okay. It's actually a very beautiful thing if you can embrace it. Every aspect and every area of your life in its appropriate season is beautiful, right? So I just am a firm believer that we don't have to be trapped in the box that society has created for us, or that society has created for singles to be put in. And you don't have to be, and that goes for people in marriages as well. You know, it's really, everyone has their own journey. Everyone has their own walk. And so this platform is an opportunity for all of us just to talk about the different things that are of interest to us, that are of concern to us as singles and as just people in general. Then, especially if you live in a city like Milwaukee and it gets cold and you ain't even trying to go nowhere, and that bed be a little bit cold. Help us in here, Jesus. You know, and you want a little body heat, you know, so that's when it kind of gets a little tricky. Or beyond that, Thanksgiving, Christmas, we are in the holiday season. So what happens is what? Who Iberia bringing to the holiday dinner? Who Darlene bringing to the holiday dinner? You know, all of this extra pressure for that we shouldn't have to necessarily endure. And on a more serious note, if we really, really think about this, suicide rates go up during this time of the year. There's all kinds of things that are going on. So we just kind of want to touch base on this particular topic, and then we'll just kind of go and flow as we do. And y'all already know, chime in if you have questions, thoughts, or concerns. We definitely will try to read them and get to them. So share this, like this, and come on in as I introduce my guest for the evening. She's been on the show since before it was a show. When I was testing out the Facebook Live to see if it worked. And this is why I love my sister, as amazing as she is, as talented as she is, as full as she is of so much wisdom and guidance to share with people. She's humble and she's tangible and just a beautiful spirit. And so I'm so excited to bring her on to chat with me today on Single Talk. Miss Arnitta Renee, licensed professional counselor. I like to call her Dr. Arnitta. I'm just speaking things that be not as though they were, because yes, okay. So again, y'all forgive my army fatigue. A sister's coming in off these streets. Okay, without further ado, drum roll please. Yes, I'm gonna add her, and let's pray, because we didn't do no kind of testing. What's up, Eric? I see you there. We didn't do no kind of testing. Hey, Vanessa. Hey, Dorinthia. But we gonna see if we can add Miss Arnitta very easily. Come on, Jesus. Work for us, Lord. Work for us, Lord. Ooh. You got to rotate your phone, Arnitta. We didn't test. I normally test.
Y'all,
yes.
Come on in. Oh my God. Come in.
I'm show y'all the phone with my hand. Hey.
I love it. Okay. So this is going to be the issue. You hear that feedback?
I don't.
Oh, I do.
Is it me?
And I know my listeners do. So basically, as I'm talking,
is that me?
It's the echo.
Okay, I just heard it.
Do you have headphones?
Oh Lord, I would have to find them.
Jesus.
Okay, is it still going?
It's still going.
It's still going, but it's cool because it's live.
Okay, can they hear it?
Oh, I thought you meant the video. No, yeah, my voice is like, can y'all hear that feedback?
Is the feedback still going?
Oh yeah. It's very,
and it's coming from me. Good God, I don't know.
Yeah, and yeah. So what may have to happen if you can't find, I have to stop after every word.
That's funny because I don't hear it.
Do y'all hear that feedback?
Oh,
it's strong.
Okay, I can't.
You don't have headphones?
Okay, let me try to find them quick. Hold on.
Okay. Because the other option, I need y'all to talk to me a little bit as we're getting prepared. Can you guys hear that feedback? Let me know if you can or if you cannot. It's like an echo, like me saying it twice. I just saw Chantel Fame and not Darlene, Delonda. They had the same issue. And it is a thing with the feedback. Oh, I hate it so much because it's gonna be good. Y'all don't even know the battle to even get on this evening. So Christy, I see you there. Regina, I see you there. Let me know, can you hear that feedback? Y'all gotta talk to me.
Okay, I found them. Now let's see if they work.
Yeah, it's gonna work. Because I've had the issue once before, unfortunately. Normally I do it in testing.
Okay.
But we're gonna see. If not, then I'm gonna have to find mine. Oh, geez.
Okay, hold on. Let me plug these in.
While y'all watching, I need y'all to be sending prayers.
Yeah, come on now. Okay,
yeah.
Is that better?
See?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Jesus. Won't he do
Yes,
it?
he will every single time.
I love it. Oh my God, come on in. Now we're ready. And they gave the numbers a chance to go up just a wee bit. So, Arnitta, now that we've gotten our technical difficulties out of the way, again, thank you so much for taking time to join me tonight on Single Talk. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
No, you've been a faithful either watcher chiming in on all of my shenanigans and foolery, and I appreciate it on today.
Yes, I appreciate. Yes. Sometimes I appreciate the foolery too. We all need it.
Right. No, but it's real. We do it all in fun, but it's some real nuggets that we can get out of some of the things that we are addressing. At least on the Tuesdays with Single Talk. But before we jump into the topic at hand today, talking a little bit about being single for the holidays, why don't you tell the people a little bit more about yourself? I know I share that you're a LPC, but maybe just talk a little bit about your heart, what you do, and why you do it.
Wow. I know. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for that. We was talking about having a man or a woman or not. So like you said, I'm a licensed professional counselor, therapist. That's all. I love the Lord. He heard my cry and pitied every groan. Yeah. I mean, I'm just, I enjoy talking about things related to mental health, relationships. I talk about relationships all day, every day. My day job, I work for a nonprofit. I work as a program director for a program for women in the street-based sex trade. And so that keeps me pretty busy between those. It keeps me pretty busy.
Yeah. No, that's heavy and it's serious. And so again, on tonight, thank you. Because when we as women wear so many, or just as people, we wear so many hats, we do so many things. So I never take it lightly when people can take time to share on platforms that God has given me to create and walk out in the earth. So thank you, love you so much for that. But let's jump right in, because we're supposed to start at 8 and it's 9 o'clock. So you heard Single Talk. I brought that, or not Single Talk, Single for the Holidays is what I had inboxed you. And I didn't give a whole lot after that. I just pretty much said, Single for the Holidays, we're going to talk about. What was some of your initial thoughts? And I thought this was just kind of good to talk about, seeing that, you're at LPC as well, and you deal with certain things dealing with mental health. This is a time of the season where a lot of those triggers can happen. Yeah. So what was your thought process when you knew that we were going to be talking about Single for the Holidays?
Well, I think initially when we see a topic like that, Single for the Holidays, the first thing we think of is that people who are single, who are moping and dopey and all sad and in their feelings because they're by themselves, so they don't have a companion or a spouse or partner or whatever for the holidays. And so I think that's the first thing we think about. I think that's the first thing I thought about, because that's the norm. But I also thought about just different ways we can navigate that, because the reality is that it does happen, and there are some people that are blissfully single. There are some people that are miserably single. And there are people that have some highs and lows. Like sometimes it's all good, and other times like, when, Lord? Why, Lord? And so I think it's really about recognizing where you are in your own space at that time, and then learning how to better navigate those waters until the next stage of your life or next stage of your relationships, comes to be. So that's kind of my initial
thoughts. How can we begin? Yeah, I was just thinking. So then, when you said that, there was a couple things that sparked up, or that popped up in my spirit. Was how do we begin to navigate those waters? And I guess maybe even identifying, like you said, it depends. Some people are blissfully single, and it's cool. You're like, whatever, it is what it is. But if we're honest, like how many, and I don't know if you've had this before, Arnitta, at all, but how many of you have had that experience coming home for the holidays, and there's this expectation, and maybe it changes as you get older or what have you, but there's this expectation that you're supposed to have someone with you, or the question is, who are you dating now? How do you answer those questions without coming off bitter, without coming off or distant, or or combative in some ways, or what's the word? Not distant, but dismissive is the word I was looking for. And so how do we begin to navigate that even with our families? Or does it matter? Because sometimes I think, and I'll say this, because guys, I go you can always jump in anytime I need it, because I go. But I do want to say this though. The other thing that I realized later on, hopefully I'm not going too far off, is that a lot of times I thought more
of what the people were thinking about my response than what they even really care. You know, a lot of times it was just idle conversation. But then I took it as, oh, they know that I haven't dated in 3 years, or, you know, whatever the situation is. So I guess, you know, to kind of go back, how do we begin to how do we prepare ourselves for some of those uncomfortable conversations? And kind of what have some of your experiences been?
Yeah, so my family doesn't ask me like who I'm with or, you know, who I'm bringing or whatever. Maybe I just been single so long they don't expect nobody to show up. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
But my family doesn't ask me. They don't ask me that, which I'm totally okay with, because I wouldn't, you know, I can do without the pressure of that. Well, the pressure is all relative if you see it as pressure. But I think to your question about like, what do you say? How do you prepare for that? Here's my thing. Let your yeses be yeses, your nos be nos. Don't go where you don't want to go. Don't stay as longer than you want to stay. Don't say something you don't want to say. So if somebody wants to engage you in a conversation about your relationship status and that's not a place you want to go, you don't have to talk about that. Like, you don't owe anybody your personal business. Like, your story, your situation, your relationship status is your relationship status. And if it had changed significantly by the last holiday, they probably would know already. So, you know, sometimes it's about turning the question back to people and saying, you know, you can ask them, you know, why is that important, or whatever, like, why is that important to you?
See, this is why I can't turn the question back, because when I turn the question back, the petty rises. The petty rises in me. And then so my question would be like, well, I would say something that would be like,
what would you say?
Well, why your breath stank? You know what I mean? Like, or, you know, why, you know, but I like what you're saying. I'm being silly, but I like what you're saying. You said, why does it matter?
Well, why is that important to you? Or why is it that you ask me that every year? What is it about seeing me at the holiday makes you bring that up? Like, what is it that you're feeling like that I'm lacking, or what is it that you need? Because apparently there's something you need out of this. Because why do you keep asking me that? And you can kind of turn the question back to them, or you can politely say, like, I really don't want to talk about that. Or are we going to talk about this again? Not this year.
Right.
You know, and so sometimes it's also saying things like jokingly, where it doesn't create tension, but it gets the message across, like, we ain't doing this. Not today, Uncle so-and-so.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
Right. Like, oh, not this year.
No, I love it. And I am definitely like queen of keep it light, you know, keep it lighthearted, because it's not the time and the place in general, probably, you know, if you're about to eat the turkey and the dressing and all of that, just, you know, say something in passing, keep it moving. You're probably not going to see these folks again until the next Thanksgiving, you know, depending on how close, you know, the family is, you know. But there was something that you said that just really stood up when you said it, is that you don't owe like you said, let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. Man, we could be done with
your business to nobody you owe. Like, you know, we're gonna rhyme, but but seriously, you don't owe anybody your personal story or your personal business about your relationship. I see Karen, a fellow therapist, in here. She said you don't need to go where you're made to feel uncomfortable. I absolutely agree. Like, you don't have to go to places where you are going to be in extremely uncomfortable situations. I think one of the things we fail to do is make our mental health a priority. And that also means during the holidays, that as much as you love your family, if going and being around your family creates a contentious situation, or if it is going to negatively impact your mental health or well-being, then you need to reconsider, like, is that where I want to go this you know, holiday season? Is there something else I want to do, someplace else I want to go? You know, maybe I want to visit a friend's family or something like that. But,
oh my goodness, like that in itself just freed somebody, because we're talking about just the conversations and how to maneuver between that. But listen, y'all, you ain't gotta go.
You gotta live with yourself for the rest of the year and the whole next year and if you are at a place that is gonna cause like deep pain, if it's gonna open up wounds, if it's gonna be triggering for you, like, save yourself the trouble. You don't have to go. And that's the let your no's be no's. You can actually say no.
So how do we? Okay, so here's where it gets. It's always like a thin line between I would say between love and hate, but no, but between healthy and unhealthy. I'll just
Mm-hmm.
put it like that. Because again, you can get real comfortable and being like, yeah, I ain't gonna, deal with that. But
Yeah.
there's sometimes we do need to face some of these issues head on. That's why, like you said, with some people, maybe it's time to have that hard conversation. What is it about me that you want to keep asking me this every year? For some people, you might need to have that conversation, and for other people, it may be time for you just to stop going altogether. But how do we identify when we're crossing the line of unhealthy? And maybe we're staying away too long,
Yeah.
or maybe, now all of a sudden we're not going
Yeah.
anywhere,
Like we ain't
so
seen
how do we
Brandy in
start to,
years. No,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think a part of that is you got to do the introspect, the self work. So you got to ask
yeah,
yourself, be clear about where you are. So be clear about number one, what this holiday or any holiday is for you. What does it mean for you? What is the significance of it? Why do you celebrate it? Why do you do it with family? Because sometimes bringing it back to the bigger picture, like the finding meaning in things, really let you. Then you start to major in the majors and not the minors. So you know what? This is a time really for me to reconnect with my family or whatever. And so I'm gonna put all that other stuff to the side because this is more important to me. So know what this is for you, why you do it, why you go be with your family on holidays. The other part is be clear about where you are. And so, when God asked Adam, like, where are you? Where art thou? Whatever. Like it wasn't because he
yeah.
couldn't see in the garden, right? So he's asking
Ooh.
about where are we in terms of our relationship. The other part is about where's your heart, because your heart is going to drive whatever relationships you're in or what that looks like. And so, what's your relationship to yourself? Check where your heart is, and be clear about that. And so, don't tell yourself lies about, I don't really care about, being single, or that doesn't, because that's the
Yeah.
other thing people do.
Ooh.
Oh, I don't care nothing about that. Girl, you worried about it, a man, or you worried about having a woman. Like, don't worry about that. If you want that, it's totally okay. And if you have a longing for it and it hasn't happened yet, that is just as okay as well. I mean, we were creatures made for relationships. So that longing
Yeah.
to have that companionship in that relationship is absolutely normal. But you first got to be careful, be consciously aware of and honest with yourself about where you are, because that's going to be the start to any other kind of navigating relationships that are going to go on. If you are not telling yourself the truth, doing it with somebody else is that's it's not even time for that yet. You got to deal with you.
Yes.
And so
Oh my
when it gets to the
gosh.
unhealthy about, staying away too long, I think that's really back to, asking yourself the tough questions and saying, okay, why am I really staying away? Is it because Uncle Jojo or my grandfather? Because I think Shawnee made a comment about her grandfather would always ask her about her husband, where's her husband? But are you
Yeah.
really staying away because of those conversations, or are you staying away because it's difficult for you to be in those situations without a mate? And
Yeah.
so there again, you have to be honest with yourself, and that's going to be the start of all of that. And when you ask yourself the tough questions, give yourself the tough answers, then sometimes we got to, find the tools in our toolbox, our coping
Yeah.
toolbox, to say, okay, the reality is I'm just afraid of being in that space. I'm
Wow.
afraid of what that makes me feel like. And that makes me feel
Wow.
uncomfortable. And it makes me feel unloved or unwanted, or it makes me feel like, has God forgotten me? Or whatever it is, whatever your
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
your messaging is, being honest with yourself about that is the start to getting you where you need to go. And off the
Oh
couch
my
if that's where you
goodness.
spend all your holidays.
Right, come on, get up off this couch. At least for one of the holidays, man. So two things. Well, there's so much that stood out, but purpose and intention. That gives you a real kind of grip when you go into these situations. If I already know my purpose
Mm-hmm.
is to spend time with my family, I'm just excusing
Mm-hmm.
everything because I'm just here to see y'all faces,
Mm-hmm.
because then I'm done
Yep.
after this. What's your purpose and what's your intention? Or if my intention is to, to
Mm-hmm.
reflect, then maybe I don't need to
Mm-hmm.
go. So I think when we really have a clarity on what that purpose and intention is, then it does make for just a better existence during this time of the year. And then, connecting with like-minded people,
Yeah,
hence single
yeah.
talk, because, you know, there are a lot of times what happens is we feel like we're alone in the way we think, and it's not always the case, you know. And so if you can connect with like-minded people that you not only can relate to, but that can also hold you accountable for those healthy and unhealthy lines, then you also have a better opportunity to stay connected, because we were not designed to be on this earth alone. Period.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the other thing is like create new traditions. So, you know, families have traditions. So some families, you know, they have game night, or, you know, they play games at Thanksgiving, or couples have their different traditions. So maybe at Christmas, you know, they all sit around the tree in their pajamas, whatever that is. Create traditions for yourself, something that's going to be enjoyable, and it can include other people. It could, you know, be something that doesn't include other people. One of the things I do that I love to do, that, you know, if you know me well enough or follow my Facebook page well enough, you know, I like to, you know, dance and sing by myself. You know, turn my music up a little bit, turn it up loud enough for my neighbors to complain. And and then do a little dancing and singing, and I have a good time doing that. So I also do that with my holiday music, my Christmas music, which I typically start in October, but I'm a little late. But that's something I do, you know, and there are other things you can think of. So create some traditions for yourself. You can do those with other people. So maybe it's other single people or whatever. So we have a day during the holiday time where we go out and whatever, we go see the lights, or we go shopping, or go to see a movie, whatever. But be mindful of, you know, creating things that if your girl get a man, or your guy get somebody, that if that's going to knock you off your block, that they not in the single group no more or whatever, then just be mindful, right? They not in the singles anymore. You know, be mindful of that. But I keep seeing self-love in these. I see this Friendsgiving. I like this. See, okay. And then I'm seeing self-love and all that. Come on with the self-love. Yes, Simone said this equals love. I don't know what we said at that point, but really it does. And it's about loving yourself. And back to us recognizing where we are. You got to be comfortable with you before you go out and be comfortable with somebody else. And so that's also, you know, in relationships are relationships. So whether it's a romantic relationship, a familial relationship, it's a friendship, whatever, it's all relationship. And so this single ship, one ship, me ship, whatever you want to call it, this is the first relationship. And so I need to deal with how I'm in relationship with myself. And when I am in and I'm healthy in relationship with myself, then I can go out and be that with other people. And so then people saying, well, where's your man? Or however they say it doesn't necessarily have the same impact, because you are solid in where you are and who you are.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think another thing so this is kind of funny. So I know we're talking about the holiday season as in Thanksgiving, Christmas, but this is also a special season of the year that people have dubbed cuffing.
Oh,
have you heard
yes.
Listen, and so
I have not cuffed in quite some time.
Come on for the cuff. You know, it's cuffing season, and so, you know, in humor, it's funny when you think about it, but a lot of people do start to feel like there's this obligation to now get connected with someone, because of some of the events and things that are going on for the holiday. But I think what I would raise is just, you know, to just be aware of the consequences. Just because we're calling it cuffing season and we think it's cute, there's a whole bunch of consequences that can come out of the cuffing season. So it could be some pregnancies that come out of the cuffing season that you ain't looking for in the summer. But no, it could be some, you know, you end up with people sometimes out of a false necessity. And in that the time that you could have taken to really get healed and whole and free and prepared for the real deal that is going to be with you through every season, you got to re-heal, because you come out of the cuffing season breakup.
Right. Be careful who you cuffing with. That's serious, because, you know, there's so many relationships that are started as a result of trying to fill this deficit that we feel like we have. And so we have to really, really, really know, again, back to who we are, where we are. And you can even recognize where there's a place in you that needs to be healed, or a place in you where you're not feeling totally there. And that's okay with recognizing that exists. You just want to figure out what's the next step for you, and not try to fill it with something that's temporary. And so sometimes cuffing season, people got their applications out, whatever. Just consider the long-term consequences of what that would look like, Lord, because So, I have made my share of, of not so wise choices. And so,
me too.
But if you go back and you look at those relationships, you can typically see like a pattern, or you can see where you were in that period of your life, where you were lacking something or trying to fill something or whatever. You can typically go back if you really dig deep. Sometimes you don't have to dig deep. You can see where some stuff was going on, and you really tried to plug that hole, and you don't have to.
Yeah, and you don't. I love that you keep going, because you don't have to. The choice can be no. The choice can be that I'm not going. The choice can be I'm not coming. And that's okay. It's okay that you don't want to Netflix and chill all winter long.
Right.
Like, at least if the cuffing season could be us enjoying each other throughout the winter, but it seemed to be one kind of direction with the cuffing season, and I'm just, I really don't want no parts unless it's gonna be long.
Right. Well, I mean, it was just that cuffing season is a season, and so it doesn't last forever. And if it does, sometimes if it does, it probably shouldn't. And here's the other thing that. This is something we have to consider, that if we are going to plug that hole or whatever it is, and maybe that's not the right example for.
I know you keep saying it. I'm like,
but if just let it go. So if we are going to fill that with a relationship, for cuffing season or whatever, a relationship that we shouldn't, just remember that you are picking up who you are. And so where you are struggling, where you are still unhealed, where you are still, really having a difficult time, or a space that it really has not been matured in you, that you are attracting to you somebody who complements that. And so then you want to be mindful of, then what more am I bringing into my life, and how much more am I layering on that I'm going to have to work through after this is over. Like, it's cool to have somebody to be booed up with for a minute, but what's going to happen in that minute that you two were together, that now I got to work through all this junk?
Wow. Because that one choice, the consequence of that, it could be something that lasts a lifetime.
Absolutely.
And so and again, we're not trying to rain on anybody's cuffing season parade.
Right. Because you know what? Just like the choice could be no, the choice can be yes. It's your choice. Yeah. Just know that you're making the choice. So
exactly. Be fully aware, because that's the thing. That's the season that I'm in. Whatever I'm doing eyes wide open. I know exactly if that's the choice that I made, maybe I made that choice. That's what I'm, and maybe it's because I'm pushing 40, help us, Jesus.
Yeah.
It's a whole other place.
Getting the 40 is it is. And I hear it gets a little higher at 50, but it's a whole different world.
Yeah, there was something that you had put on Facebook, and this might deviate us just a teeny bit, but I think we can still tie it in. But it really resonated with me, and I'm almost wondering if, and so I'm going to kind of go a little bit ahead, if men deal with this kind of single for the holidays, these concerns as much as women do. Or kind of what that's like. And that statement kind of comes from the post that I saw you put up about, I don't know if it was about church, but it was something along the lines of, if men were as prepared for
Oh, yeah, it was
marriage or
about
groomed
church.
for marriage as
Yeah.
women are, as
Yeah.
women are, then we might be on an even playing field. Because I don't really know does it even really matter? I think we might have one or two men that's on here, but we got full chats about
Yeah.
it. They show up for the food and watch the game, and they cool. What's been your experience or your thoughts in that?
So my thoughts about men's preparation or how men are
Yeah,
prepared.
yeah,
Well, I have a
yes.
whole lot of thoughts about that,
Come on with it.
we ain't got enough time.
Yeah, give a little time.
Yeah.
I
So
think they're not prepared at
no,
all.
I think that for many of them, they're not prepared, and that's really about how we socialize boys differently than we do girls, right? So girls we get this messaging right away about um, dreaming for the big wedding and being a princess, and your prince is gonna come and save you. You go and y'all know, maybe y'all don't know, Anita Baker is one of my favorites, and fairy tales, one of my favorites. Yeah. So, she like, mama never told me he wasn't gonna come riding on this white horse, whatever. But anyway, girls get socialized to think relationship, to think marriage and mommy and family. Boys get socialized to roughhouse, both with their toys and with their women. So, yeah, so you get to play, you get to be rough, you get to do whatever it is you want to do. And then maybe one day, you'll have a wife. And so you think about that when you have little kids that come home from school, and the little boy, they ask the little girl, they'll ask her if she has a boyfriend or not. But the boy, it's about, how many girlfriends do you have? And so there's all these different ways that we socialize boys differently than girls when it comes to relationships. Also, when we think about emotions, so how we socialize them in terms of how they express their emotions, what emotions are okay to express. So girls tend to get this messaging that it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to cry if you hurt yourself. It's okay to be upset or to be offended or whatever. But boys, it's like, suck it up, don't cry, don't be a punk, don't act like a girl, which is so offensive. And says a whole lot just in that. But then we teach boys that they can only express a couple of emotions, and so they can be regular. Sometimes they can be happy as long as it's not too happy. And they can be angry. So sad is not an okay emotion. Hurt is not, an okay emotion to feel. And so then when these boys and these girls who, either one, or the other socialize for relationships and expressing emotions, and then he's not, and all the other opposite things, and you get these people together, and it's like a firestorm because they are walking into relationships really not prepared. She's not prepared for the fact that he's not going to match her emotionally and relationally in terms of what she's been preparing for all this time. And he's not prepared for the fact that he's going to be challenged to step outside of what he is used to and what he's been taught and how he's used to doing things. And that he's got, and they both have to consider somebody else's perspective.
Oh my goodness, and half of the time, they're not considered. They're generally not even considered really what their own perspective is, because they haven't even taken time to identify who am I really outside of what society says that I am. After all of that, and so again, moving into a Thanksgiving holiday or whatever, it's not a thought, but I can share kind of a story, a very transparent moment, where I was in a somewhat, it was a new relationship. This was years ago. And so I already know y'all trying to figure it out. Like who, when,
give us a few more details.
No, it was years ago. It was years ago. And and here's the thing. It was holiday season. I remember it wasn't I think it was like around Christmas season. And I think I had not been in a relationship for a little bit, and so this was kind of a new relationship. And I told my mother, and I think a few other of my family members that I was bringing somebody, because we wanted to make sure we had enough, and I was excited about this. you know, and so gearing up to that particular moment. And when I tell you, that person broke up with me on Christmas Day. On Christmas Day. And so, mind you, I have my outfit. And so I don't know if it made it worse.
I mean, were y'all dressing alike, or you was just, but you was just ready.
Like, you know, I was just,
you were ready.
Oh, you trying to still figure out the time frame, like how old was you? Because at one point they were dressing alike. No. But, you know, I just wanted, yes, for the kids. I just wanted y'all to see, you know, we're not all, you know, we're not in it alone. And so that was a horrible experience for me. And you know what was more horrible to me was not the fact that we broke up.
Was showing up without him.
I had to face my family for the holidays with an extra plate. You know, wasn't no extra plate, but you know what I mean? And so it was a real thing, you know, and so because it was finally, I don't have to come single. Finally, I don't have to come, you know? And so, but the thing is, and this is, you know, even though it's single talk, it's an extension of Saved in the City. So we can get a little real on here when it comes down to belief and Christianity and our faith. And so what I learned from that later in life was that the enemy will use, he's crafty, and he will use anything that I feel that I need outside of God to validate me and my existence and my joy and my peace. He's going to try to use against you, whether it's with a male friend or a good girlfriend or whatever your situation is. And so, you know, it just leads us to that point. So I think it leads us back to the point that you made about being intentional about, okay, now what did I have to go? And I think I felt like I did have, and it wouldn't have been my family's fault, but I didn't think about it. I just kind of threw myself into it, over-explained myself.
Yeah, so I think a part of it is, okay, so y'all broke up and you show up without dude. I mean, because clearly he's lousy.
Because clearly, yes.
No, but really, why is it so weird that you show up without this person? Like, hasn't anybody else in your family broken up before?
Right,
like,
right.
You know, right. And so again, it's about all that messaging, whatever those messages are we're giving ourselves, or we're replaying in our own minds. Like, how is that impacting how we show up, how we feel, and how we navigate the world and our other relationships, and how we show up on the holidays. Like, is it y'all didn't broke up before? Like,
right.
You know, so.
And it is. But you know what it is what's so interesting about it. Again, it just depends on where you are. You know, when you don't deal with your own issues of rejection, when you don't deal with your issues of whatever that thing is, then that's what you're projecting this energy to people that something happened or something happened, not necessarily something happened to you, but that you were the one that was unworthy. That you were the one that has to, you know?
I mean,
but with God.
No, I was going to say, I've been asked before, like, I've shown up, you know, I've been in a relationship and then show up to the holiday and he's not there. And, you know, family members say, oh, where's so-and-so, you know? And I'll just be like, I don't know. He ain't with me.
Yeah.
Or,
right. Right.
I said before,
right.
Well, I'm glad he ain't with me or whatever. Or sometimes I've just said, I don't know where he is. And I think they get the message and it's like, all right, well, let me go on about my business, you know? So,
but see, I've been delivered from over explaining. But that was my issue. Like, I always felt like I had to explain away my whole world. Why was I back in? Because even when I moved back from Atlanta back here to Milwaukee in 2006, had to over-explain. I didn't even want to go places because I felt like, I got to tell. I didn't let your no be your no.
And your yes.
And your yes be your yes. But again, on the flip side, so kind of going back to what we were talking about with the way most, and maybe not all, but the way most men and most women handle it, I think it kind of goes back to what you were saying, where somehow it looked like they was the player in it all. They left her. They forgot, like they didn't want to bring her to meet us. But with us, it's always like, oh, he left, you know. So I think we gotta, you know, just check those underlying things that make us project those insecurities that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what's going on? Y'all? I wish I could see your comments. They kind of quiet now. Y'all just listening. Say something.
But, you know, I think it's something with the way our connection is, because normally I be seeing them comments jumping.
I know.
Yes, y'all.
So how are you guys feeling? It is Thanksgiving
Yeah.
on Thursday. Do you got a date or not?
Are you dating or not?
Are you dating or
Yeah.
not? How do you guys feel about being single for the holidays? What's your thought process? Here's the thing. Even beyond being single for the holidays, some people are, if we expand to relationships, some people stay in relate. I've done this before.
Till the holiday is over.
Yes. Guilty. Okay, but I've been like, oh, wait a minute. Well, you know what? Let's just hang on to after Christmas. Then it's like, oh, well, what do you call it? Valentine's Day coming up. Oh, well, his birthday on the next,
And you'll be with somebody a whole extra 10 years hanging on because something is coming up next. And I think that, again, is about dealing with yourself and saying, and the comments were going that direction before about, self-love. It's really about how do I feel about myself, and do I care about myself and my own well-being enough that I'm going to end this relationship that needed to be ended or never started or whatever the case may be, and be okay with not having a date for the holidays, and be okay with, okay, now it's time to focus on taking care of myself and healing, like, dealing with whatever it is that you need to deal with. And I think it's always going to come back to you. What are you doing with you? How are you feeling about you? And if you are solid there, your family members can't shake you. They may say things that are, frustrating or irritating or whatever, but really shake you at your core. They can't do that when you're solid with yourself. And I wanted to just kind of circle back about, the whole, you brought up, faith and Christianity and whatever. We get a lot of messages about, what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. I mean, some of the messaging women we get would, one, be why are we even having this conversation? Because that borders on being desperate, talking about men in relationships. But I think you again, when it comes to your faith, I believe that again, we're all created for relationship, so there's nothing wrong with having that desire. It's just about what is the right relationship for me at this time in my life. I believe that every relationship has a purpose, no matter which one it is. But you need to know the purpose of that relationship. If you don't know the purpose, you are going to abuse the person, the situation. You are going to overextend yourself, stay too long, try to hold on too long with somebody who should be moving on, whatever the case may be. Or you're doing the wrong thing with that person. So you got to know the purpose in whatever the relationship is. And I think that goes back to our faith, and that you are, again, who you are in God. I know where God called me, who he called me to be, and where he called me to be. And so there are just some relationships I'm just not going to entertain, even if that means I got to show up solo dolo. So, it is what it is.
And I think, something else that I just kind of thought about is lose the spirit of comparison, because I think what happens is we show up solo dolo, or however we decide to show up on that, and then instead of just enjoying and being, what we do is try to look and compare. Oh, okay, that's a couple over there, or I know they, again, we just talked about the people who stay in these relationships just because it's another holiday, and people look great on the outside, but then they go home arguing. Be thankful and grateful for where you are, especially if you got some peace, especially if you got a little bit of joy, and I think that a lot of it comes from just this social media driven society that we live in. And so we see things and the image of things, and then we try to base our life on something that may not even be real, relationship goals based on a picture. And so whether that's a picture you're seeing on social media or a picture that you've made up because you walked in the house and you see such and such hugged up with such and such, it may not be that way. And so stop there.
And I mean, create your own vision for what you want that to look like. So don't compare your relationship to other people, or lack thereof, to what other people have going on. And people say that all the time. They may not even be in a great relationship. Maybe they are in a great relationship, and it's healthy and it's thriving, and that's cool. at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
what do you see for yourself? And so one of my other tips would be meditation. Like I've
Yes.
talked
Yes.
to people about, meditation is a coping skill forever, but really I started to do it myself. And whatever people think about meditating, if you need to get a scripture and keep your mind on the word, then
Right.
go ahead and
Meditate on the goodness of the Lord.
meditate on the goodness of the Lord. Yes, I'm going to meditate and visualize my
Yes, me
man
too.
and
Me
how we
too.
living and what we doing and what it's feeling like, right? So,
Yeah.
but really, it's about creating a vision for yourself for what that looks like. And if you put the energy and the focus into that rather than what you don't have or who you're not with or who Sally and Susie and Keisha and Dre, what they doing,
Yeah.
like there are other things that you can focus that energy on. You can still be honest about, I want to have a relationship. I want to have that companionship. And there are moments where that might feel a little empty. I don't have to be stuck in that though.
Mm-hmm. And I think also check your spirit, check your energy. Because like you said, all of this is if I go into a place and I'm not right on the inside, then I'm projecting this energy out, and that maybe that's why I'm still single. Not necessarily saying that being single is bad, but you understand what I'm saying in the regards of the law of attraction is real.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. So when you go in being content and not complacent, but content in who you are, feeling good, being happy with being grateful, you're going to attract that.
Absolutely.
When you go in, what are you
No, I say absolutely. Go ahead.
Oh,
go
yeah.
ahead. Go on, preach. Right.
When you go in with this other, like, oh, I wonder how they feel. Oh, I'm probably gonna be single for the rest of my life, or you know what, it's all. You're going to attract that same energy as well. So check your spirit, man. Check your space. Have you done that, or how do you do that?
So I do that in a number of ways. One, like I said, meditating and visualizing. So I do some, visual stuff for myself. Also, I write things out. So, being Mary Jane.
Oh, yes, the one to stick them
yes,
up on the wall.
the Post-its. So
yes.
I have those. I have the smaller ones, and then I also have the big sheets when I'm doing more like drawn out kind of visual kind of stuff. And then I have my confessions or my affirmations that I say, and I say to myself. I say it in the mirror. I say it as I'm driving or whatever I'm doing. I might have a moment where I just stop and tell myself, girl, use a good thing right here. Whatever it is you need to tell yourself. And so that's how I keep myself built up, keep myself encouraged, and I'm able to recognize when I've gotten a little off course or I'm off base. So I don't want to give this impression like I've always got it together and, I'm always saying great things to myself about myself. If only. But I do know when I've fallen off and I have to remind myself like, okay, come on, get up, dust yourself off, get it back together. And I go, what I do is I go straight back to my mirror and I go back and I look myself in the eye and tell myself what I need to say. Because I think the other thing when we're talking about faith and we're talking about confession and speaking the word, so we know that we can decree a thing and it will be. We know speaking our words are powerful. Language has power. And so if life and death are in the power of the tongue, then we have to be mindful of how much life we're putting into ourselves or how much death we're giving ourselves. And as you speak those negative things, you can start to eventually feel your emotions and everything around, in you starting to, deteriorate or die slowly, so to speak. And so we have to be mindful of what's the language I'm using? How am I thinking about myself? If I have a moment where I'm like, ooh, I shouldn't have eaten I shouldn't have eaten that whole cake.
Dang it, and the macaroni.
Right. The next couple of days I could be down in the dumps about like my pants don't fit. You know what I'm saying? Or I could really tell myself like, hey, you did it. You shouldn't have did it. Like, what you gonna do different now? And so really, I have a lot of conversations, with myself. And
Come on.
really it's
This
because
is the time to have
my
it.
ears need to hear me say what needs to be said, because there are people that go
Yes.
out into the world and they never hear what they need to hear in terms of them being encouraged and being uplifted and being affirmed. And so I want to hear that from, you know, my relationship with Father, but I also need to give that to myself. And so no matter what anybody else is saying, I have to hear my own self say what needs to be said. And so I make sure that I am out loud speaking those things over my own life, into my own ears, so that it gets in my own heart.
Yeah, that's so good. There's something else that I kind of feel led to say, because again, we've been talking about being single and moving into being single for the holidays. But I believe, or at least this is what I feel, is that there are some people that are going to be moving into this holiday season or just into a new season of your life, and you've gone through the process. You've been healed. You've done what you needed to do. So don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to be open this holiday season. Don't be afraid to connect, go out on a date, have some fun. You know, you don't always, it doesn't have to be as soon as you meet somebody. Okay, now I'm marrying them. Enjoy, you know, we've had other shows where people said we couldn't date. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't see that one. Like, you can't date at all.
No, they said we couldn't date, but we could masturbate.
You can date yourself.
I said, whoa, y'all. So for my
I missed that one.
Y'all said we're not gonna even go
I
there a
missed
little
that.
bit. I'm just saying that's what they said, and that's okay.
Alrighty.
Yeah. But I believe it's okay to connect with people and get to know people. And in this season, don't get caught up on what that thing. People are like, what did you say? But it's okay in this season to be open to that. So what, you know, whether it's the season of you moving in and being cool by yourself, or it's the season of you exploring and trying something new, be open to that and trust the process. And if you're a believer, trust that your steps are ordered and God got you.
Yeah, and I think I absolutely agree with that. I think if you're at a place where you feel like I've done the work and I'm healed, and, you know, where is this person, or why isn't this happening yet? I think that all things happen in their time. And so that's one thing to consider. The other thing is what you said is like, how open are you?
Yeah.
And so if you are not open to, if you want to be with somebody, but you're not open to dating, you might have a little more work to do than you thought. You know, so
exactly.
Sometimes, and when I get to, if I have those moments, because I've had those moments before where I'm like, oh my God, what is the problem? Like,
I'm
Lord, right. Hello, Lord, what's taking you so long? Whatever. And then I just step back and say, okay, what is it that I can be doing in this season? Like, in the meantime, like, what can I be working on for me? What's the next step? Where do I need to go?
That's good.
And just believe that it will happen when it's supposed to happen.
Arnita, I love you.
I love you too. I love you too. You know, I love having these conversations.
I think this is absolutely amazing. Again, I appreciate, you know, you coming on and chatting and us kind of just starting to unpack just a little bit of this. Again, Single Talk is just a little, it's the tip of the iceberg, you know, but at least it can get you thinking and opening your mind to, or why you do certain things, or, you know, how you can even heal from certain things, or reconnect, or there's so many different things we can get out of it. But Arnita, before we kind of start to wrap up, any kind of final takeaways? I know we kind of said a lot, you know, even towards the end, we gave some good nuggets. But for those people, because the people are joining, some people have been on the whole time, but what can they take away?
I think well, before I give the takeaway, I think one is know your triggers, right? Know what your triggers are. If going around certain family members trigger you, if the holidays in general trigger you, know what your triggers are. The other thing is, I think I'll also be mindful of how you might be grieving more than one thing at one time. And so grief, we think about in terms of, and this happens, like holiday season is another time when people are grieving heavily as well, right? So perhaps it's you know, another holiday without a loved one. Perhaps it's another holiday without, you know, because someone died, or because you're divorced, or you're not in a relationship, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So
Ooh, that's a whole
anniversaries, you know, the anniversary of loss can be difficult for people, and you're reminded of those things around the holidays. So I think it's important to unpack like where you are in terms of like, what am I feeling this just because I don't have, you know, a mate or a partner, or is there something else connected to this, or are there layers of things going on right now? Because that's important too. And you don't want to lump everything on because I don't have a woman or because I don't have a man, when that may not be the whole picture. And so it's important to, you know, unpack those pieces. Then the other part is, what I was going to say about grief is, it's not just the loss of tangible things. It's also ambiguous loss, the things that never happened, the things that were going to be like, we were actually going to get married on Christmas Day, or we would have, you know, had a baby by now, and I would have been buying my child gifts, or whatever the case may be. You have to grieve
the potential.
Yeah. And so sometimes people are grieving those things, whether they are consciously aware of that or not. And so again, unpacking how much of this is about me having a companion, and how much of it is about other things. So know that. Also know your triggers in terms of what sets you off. Like if you know Uncle Johnny sets you off when he asks you about where is your husband or where is your wife, and you know how Uncle Johnny leads up to it, like why even go? Like don't even
move away from Uncle Johnny.
Let Uncle Johnny do his thing with your cousin. Like like don't set yourself up in a situation where you know you are going to be harmed, where there's potential for harm. So know your own triggers, and then also be proactive in terms of what are the things that will help me work through things if it gets a little tough for me. What are my options? Is there an option that I can walk away? If I can go outside, if I can ride, you know, get in my car and drive around the block for a minute. Is there a friend that I can call and say, okay, and I've pre-planned this, girl, if I text you twice, if I call you twice, that means pick up. Okay, I just need a minute to, you know, whatever. So have those things prepared and planned out so that when the time comes, if it comes, then you've got a solid plan for how to deal with that and still be able to make it through the holiday.
Oh my God. Y'all taking notes on that? Because yes, ma'am. I love that piece about that. Just being prepared. If you know this happens regularly, what are you going to do when Uncle Johnny walks up? Well, how are you going to handle it this time? How can you avoid the situation? Maybe you not, and you don't want to hide, you know, but maybe it's like, you know, I'll just be, you know, maybe they do something special in the basement and Uncle Johnny can't walk down.
Uncle Johnny afraid of the basement. So go in the basement, man. You know, there's
always a way.
Yeah, he will always provide a way of escape, right?
Won't he do it?
But the other thing is sometimes instead of, you know, when I talked about redirecting, I'm sorry, stuff just keeps coming. Sometimes it's about speaking to the thing that the person is really talking about. So remember, you know, Uncle Johnny's like, well, when you're gonna have a husband? Well, when you bringing, you know, your grandmother's like, when you bringing home some babies, whatever.
Some grandkids.
You know, and so, and so maybe a part of that is saying to them, like, I know that you are really concerned about me having someone to love and someone loving me. And I really appreciate you caring about my well-being in that way. And so sometimes you can move around that by speaking to what is their concern for you in that situation, not just because they want to see you, you know, hooked up, but I think there's something more to that. And if you know what that is, or you have a sense of what that is, you can address that directly, and then you don't have to get into because me and Craig had broke up last week.
Right. What
right.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. No, I absolutely love it, and I've been down that road. I've had all the questions, and so you guys know you're not alone. I've had all of the questions asked for me. Why aren't you married yet? Mm-hmm. Why haven't you had kids yet? You know, is there some? I've literally had people say, "Are you barren?"
Whoa! Like, oh my God!
Ask me straight out, like, can you not conceive? And I'm like, wow, really? You know, so it gets rough out here. I had to, and it's not really been for my immediate family. It's usually when we have these extended people that come in. I don't know who they are, you know, and they think they know you, and they looking for your, you know. So it's all kinds of things. So you guys are not alone in that. But again, Arnitta gave you some amazing tools for you to put in your little tool bag for these holidays, for you to be able to maneuver through. And again, if you just your decision could be that you just not even gonna deal with it this holiday season, and that's all right.
Yeah, Vanessa said that she don't have the energy to partake, no matter what my original purpose or intention was. Tired. So she's saying about, you know, are you prepared to navigate those waters? And she's, you know, she's like, I don't even have the energy, not doing it. And so again, that's a no. Your yes is be your yeses, your no's be your no. Nope, I ain't doing that. We done with that. Not today, Satan.
Not today, and not ever. Okay. Right. I love it. I love it. Arnitta, how can people connect to you to continue to support you and your efforts and things you're doing?
Yeah, so people can connect with me through my Cash App.
Yeah. Say it. What is it?
Arnitta Renee. $, Arnitta Renee.
Look, no amount is too small, and no amount is too big.
Definitely not a too big amount. No.
Go ahead and bless.
No.
Sow a seed on tonight.
Yeah. So through Facebook, Arnitta Renee. Well, my business page is Arnitta Holloman, but most of you I'm connected to Arnitta Renee. My email address, Arnitta@ArnittaRenee.com. You can connect with me there. Of course, you know, I love doing this talking and having these conversations. So for speaking, for some of this, you know, live stuff, I love it. So check me out. And that's all I'll say for now. Yeah.
For now.
More to come.
And you got for now, exactly. So guys, again, thank you for those people that joined us, for those that have stuck with us for the full hour, for those who kind of come and gone, for those who will watch later. We absolutely appreciate you, and know that we all have our own journeys when it comes down to it. You know, what single looks like on me, it may not look like on you, and that's okay. You know, embrace where you are now, live your best life now. I'm trying to think of all the cliche sayings that I can say in this last 3 minutes. But you know, it is what it is, and I'm so excited for myself to even be moving into this holiday season. You know, it's a new opportunity. Look at it as something like that, a new opportunity to enjoy life. And I'm about to be 40.
It's a great place to be. And if you're not ready for any of that, you know, real talk stuff, then just say he couldn't make it. I'm gonna take him a plate. And eat.
I like
and then
it.
Eat the plate.
And then eat then you get to have 2 plates.
Yes. It's all about extra plates.
I love y'all. I hope y'all love us back. So just so you guys know, I will be I'm actually going out of town tomorrow. I will not be back next week. So you guys won't see me Single Talk again until probably not until we do a live event. So we shall see.
Oh,
coming soon. Absolutely. All right. Well, we love you guys. And until we see you again, be encouraged.
Thank you. Bye-bye.